We can't wait much longer. Good.
Has Dennis considered reaching out to Omar Osama bin Laden, who recently made it very well known that he is for peace and uniting Muslim and Western fronts, while not denouncing his father, who represents, Eastern interests, and he wants to raise 3,000 horses across North America. I feel like it would be a symbolic gesture that would draw distinction to Dennis Kucinich above all other candidates, to be an individual that thinks outside of the box.
Well, he certainly is an individual who thinks outside the box. You know that we went to Syria last year and the year before, and met with the president there, as we've done now on a couple of occasions, and made sure that we went to Palestine and Israel and Lebanon, going all the way down to the borders. We reach out a lot, and we reach out to all different kinds of parties because we understand that we've got to build a conversation. We've got to build a conversation with people who we might not agree with on many counts, but who also may not agree with our administration, which is very understandable. And I would say I haven't actually heard about that, about his son. I would say just at the moment that would be an incredibly courageous thing if Dennis were to choose to do that.
I think so as well.
I know that he hasn't discussed it, so I'm sure that he's not even thinking about it at the moment.
I got you. Well, I will.
So if you want to pass some information on, then I can pass it on to him.
I'm willing to write a $1,000 check to the Kucinich campaign if Dennis makes an invitation to bring to go to Egypt and have a peace summit with Omar Osama bin Laden, because I don't see any stronger of a gesture to draw a distinction than to meet with the son of the Western perceived devil, to speak in honest terms about peace and have like a video peace conference and bring that to the mainstream. You can't, the amount of tension, it can't be ignored. I don't think it can be ignored anyways.
No, it can't be ignored. It can be spun out of all recognition for what it is, though.
Yes.
And we have to really understand the current climate that we're in. We have to understand, how when we went to Syria, Dennis was portrayed as being the devil and the traitor.
Sure.
that him reaching out to a nation that has taken in 2 million Iraqi refugees, that has given them universal health care and universal education. The First Lady and I spent a long time talking to each other and in just a private meeting with us together, understanding that the way we have to really change things is by truly involving and engaging people. We've got a whole generation of people now in Iraq who have fallen out of the education system, who don't have the health care that they need. Those people, when they fall out of education, then they don't have the economic opportunities that there are, then they get into poverty in later life, and then they're susceptible to the hands of terrorist organisations that would want to bring them in, and then we have a perpetuation of violence. We understand that we need to approach everything with an open heart, that we need to reach out to the international community with hands of it, to embrace them, to speak the dialogue of peace, to really move through and understand that humanitarianism is the way that we solve the security problems. Bombing the world to pieces is not the way to bomb the world to peace. That is the thinking that permeates Washington at the moment. We need to change that. And so, I'll listen to what you have to say, but I also ask you to understand the media backdrop to this. How people are being spun out of all recognition. The truth is always spun out of all recognition. And we need to make sure that if such a meeting were to occur, if such a peace conference were to occur, then the country would have to be prepared for that. Because I think the shocking events of 9/11, the way that the administration has again taken our emotions, taken our feelings, and put them into this cul-de-sac which says we have to go and bomb the rest of the world, we've got to isolate ourselves, we're not safe. That has taken people to a place where they don't recognise what the truth is anymore, and we have to really start to build courage within the people, I think, before such a move would.
Well, yeah, it's the static between those two ideologies, and I think that you have our symbol saying they're evil, and you have their symbol, and we can't understand them, because of the language difference. So with translators being brought to help explain to the people what's going on and what one culture represents and what the other culture represents, so that we know. It's about educating.
Oh, we absolutely need cross-cultural interaction. We need, with respect to Iran, for example, what's going on there? If you want to talk about translation, there was a piece of legislation that every single week there seems to be another piece of legislation which just chips away a little bit more to encourage us to get to war a little bit quicker. And there was one piece of legislation which was condemning the president of Iran for talking about wanting to wipe Israel off the map. Whereas the president of Iran had said that, he should be condemned for it. But the translation from the New York Times was completely different to the translation that the House of Representatives was using. So this point of language is really important to really acknowledge. And Dennis took the New York Times translation and tried to get that inserted into the congressional record, just as a point of record that there were different translations that said different things. They wouldn't let him put it in. Our history, our official history in the United States has been dictated by people who haven't got the capacity to actually understand what we need to do to bring about peace, to bring about security to Israel, to bring about security to the United States. And that is to really bring our brothers and our sisters together. Because when our brothers and our sisters are fighting against each other, it's not up to us to choose which one it is that we want to live and which one it is that we want to die. We have to bring them together. And the way we do that is by bringing an honest broker. And that's how peace will be achieved. But the United States needs to understand that, and our population in this country really needs to understand that too. So again, I'll take that message back to Dennis.
Okay.
And something that I've been talking about for a long time, and something that I actually do with groups that I meet, is what I call the 9-10 Forum. And it can have any name you like, but I try to look at, 9/11, we were taking down this emotional cul-de-sac. I took my final exam for my master's degree on September the 11th, 2001. My master's degree was in international conflict analysis. My exam was in conflict resolution and world politics, with a specialisation in terrorists. So you can see how that exam and that event, to me, was a defining moment. And I watched the TV, I've said this to a number of people recently, because it's really on my mind. I watched the TV in the United Kingdom, which was where I was at that time, and I watched the BBC. And I saw how the media here were questioning, well, why, and who, and how, and what possible reason would they have, and let's look at interventionist policies, let's look at what's happening within these countries and build a picture. We saw that was very helpful, going on the academic route, the understanding route, trying to empathise and understand both sides. And then I saw the response from the rest of the world, which was 1 million people in the streets of Iran in prayer vigil for people of the United States, which was people in Palestine running, saying, where can we send our blood? Where can we send our blood? Wanting to send blood to the United States. Where we had people in Germany and France and Spain and Italy and all across Europe who were putting flowers at American embassies, who were standing in vigil with the American people, with those who'd lost families, but also with the nation as a whole. All across the world, every single country, there was this outpouring of love. There was an opening of the heart of the rest of the world towards America in a way that I'd never seen expressed. I'd never understood, prior to that people really love this country. They don't want to see this country destroyed. This is a line from the administration to control the people of the United States, to undermine our civil liberties here. This is not the reality for the mainstream populations in the rest of the world. There might be a few weird groups out there, but they can be dealt with in a different way. The heart of the world is still ready for America to embrace it. Because if we reach out to the rest of the world with our hands, millions and millions of hands will reach back to us. And what I do in the 9-10 Forum is ask people questions of, tell me a time, don't give me an instant, but tell me a real time, a real story of when it is that you felt most courageous, or when you felt most proud of something you were able to achieve, or when it was that you felt most inspired by a leader in government. All of those positive questions. And when we as a community share the answers to those questions, which are our personal stories, real stories that reveal who we are as individuals, we start to peel away all those onion layers of propaganda and all of those onion layers of false truths that have been put upon us, and we get to understand the truth that is within us. When we understand our own truth, we can then move in through our communities, through the news cycle, through all these other things, and really see where truth lies and where propaganda is. And when we do that, we become stronger as individuals. And then I think, if this kind of idea was mainstream through the country, when people had strength in themselves and belief in their own truth, we could then reach out very openly as a nation to people that you're suggesting. But I really think that we need to build up the courage of the country for us to be able to do that collectively. So I thank you so much for sharing your afternoon with me. And as we said, DennisForPresident.com is the website. Please sign up to that. Please get your friends to sign up to it. This is a movement. This is a long-term movement. It is about the White House, as I said, but it's also about really building something, building a movement for democracy. Dennis and I can't run a campaign on thin air. We actually spent our advertising budget for Nevada on the recount in New Hampshire, because we saw that we wouldn't get more votes in New Hampshire, but the integrity of the election up there was being undermined. There were too many questions about hand-counted ballots as opposed to the machine-counted ballots having discrepancies in figures, and we knew that somebody has to step up to the plate. And of course, as usual, Dennis is the safety net, and so we sacrificed the contributions that had been given to us for our campaign to actually shore up the democratic process, and we really need your help. If 1 million people gave $50, we'd have $50 million. Dennis would be in the White House, okay? There are 300 million people in this country. For 1 million people to give, it's not that many of a percentage. If we really put our money where our mouths are, if we really put the integrity of our vote where our heart is, everything changes. Very, very simply, everything changes. If people can go on the website and contribute a little bit, it will make all the difference. It's just getting a critical mass to do the same. And when we build out this movement, when we say we're really serious about making this happen, it's the easiest thing in the world. But we just have to do it. We've got to say, this is what we're going to do, this is how we're going to make it happen. And as I say, Dennis really is a great choice in this presidential election. He is a choice and an opportunity that we have, and we really have to embrace it with both hands. And I say that not only as his wife, but as somebody who greatly admires his courage as well. So thank you all for being here. Thank you.
Thank you.